YTPC. How are you all doing? I'm just down here in the Canton Valleys, southerlymost canton of Switzerland. Just staying a few days at the little chalet place here. So far we had beautiful weather and went for a lovely walk yesterday to what you would call Blind Mountain. So the Blind Valley I showed you on the previous video, and Blind Mountain is the hill, if you like, right next to it. I guess you would call it a mountain because it goes up to about 1,200 meters. And it's a lovely walk. You basically go halfway up the mountain to a place called Blatten in southern Switzerland, and from Blatten you can go up further to Bellalp, which is a famous ski resort, and there are gondolas going up there and a big cable cabin, which you'll see on the video. But in the summer months, you know, any time from spring to autumn, it's a beautiful place to go hiking, and there's lots of wonderful walks. And the one I did is a short walk, not very difficult. It takes you to the top of one of the what we call a mountain, but it's not that high. You know, it's not like being up in the Alps, but you know, it's still below the tree line and there's forests all around there, but you get some lovely views of the ravines and down into the valley areas. And just thought I'd share it with you. Well, I'm just enjoying my time here in the valleys, and I'm actually found a jar of Peterson Xmas Blend 2018. Well, I agree it's not Christmas, but you know, you can make any day Christmas if you really want. And I'm smoking it in my Savinelli Prince 315 model with the extra large bowl, the EX model we call it. So I haven't actually, you find the KS bowl size quite easily, but you don't find this X1, which has a 22mm internal diameter, so really holds a nice amount of tobacco. And I think the shape of it, the appearance of it is lovely, so I've actually got several of these. It's a little bit windy here. You see my flag, my Valley Surf flag, fluttering back there, and I hope my little shade here is not going to fall over. The Valleys is very famous for having the best weather in Switzerland most of the time. Blue skies and sunny, and can get really hot here as well. And they grow a lot of fruit like apricots, very famous for that. They make schnapps out of it, but all kinds of other nice things, strawberries, and as well as, of course, wine. And tomorrow I'm actually going wine tasting with my brother-in-law. Well, back to the gore. I've sent now all the packages off with a tracking number, and I hope they all arrive safely. Thank you everyone who participated, and congratulations to all the prize winners. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm just sorry about that hiccup there with YouTube at the end of the day. I think actually YouTube is run by machines and robots and computer programs, and there's actually no one there thinking behind the scenes at all. Nevertheless, I will solve it in future by playing very old music, and I had a good idea, which maybe you think is a good idea, could be a good idea. Let's see. I'm going to play my old gramophone collection. I must have maybe 150 old 78 gramophone records, and I have a hand crank gramophone here, and also my house in near Basel, so I could use that, couldn't I? You know, where there's a will, there's a way. There's always a way to get around it. So, my dears, have a look at my little walk yesterday. I commented on a few things. I think you'll find it's quite a charming. The old part of Blatten is where the old chalets and the barns are. Sorry, I'm just about to be clobbered by this screen here. And that's fascinating on its own. And then you go up in the forest and onto the hill. It's just lovely. Well, take a look, see what you think. In the town of Blatten, just under the ski resort of Bellalp, there you see the gondolas going up to Bellalp. Of course, it's just summer hiking weather, not skiing weather. A lovely town if you ever visit southern Switzerland, the valleys, which is a lovely area, beautiful and mountainous as you see, and full of lovely chalets like this one here. This lovely lawn, really beautiful. And these used to be old barns which have been renovated into living houses, sometimes by local people and sometimes by others who have a holiday house here, or people who have come to settle and live in Switzerland. Just fixing up the church up there. And there you see a speaker, which is an old storage barn on those 4 flat stones. That's very typical of the building. They kept the mice out by using those flat stones. And a lot of these are still used as barns. Here, for example, you see, please don't feed the animals. So now these sheep are not here at the moment. They are out on the lovely lush green plains and meadows of the Alps, so that be they cow or sheep or whatever, or goats, the milk and the meat will taste much better because of that. So I'm on the way today with Sylvia to the Blind Mountain. See, here's another one here. Trekvarki is that in local dialect. I'd have to ask Sylvia what it means, because she's from this area. A lot of people have a little garden and allotment here and grow a few things for themselves. And the local restaurant, there's a very good hotel restaurant here called Massa Ferien Hotel, which has a great, lovely restaurant, not fancy, but really nice, good home country cooking, and lovely place to stay if you ever come in this direction. You see, here are these flat stones again, and this one is also used still for storage of hay to get it dry, so that for the winter months the animals have something to eat. And constantly there's renovation going on. You see a rather new large chalet over there. Sometimes it's separated into apartments and sometimes it's just one big house. And here is a project which has just started with this crane. Absolutely wonderful views of the mountains and the forests between them. There are many ravines and clefts in these mountains, and you hear the rushing of the streams and rivers coming down from the glacier. That's that new building that we saw from the profile. It really is very large. It must be a whole set of apartments. Even got Chalet Viking here, so the Vikings are here already. There's Sylvia up there waiting for me. Coming. And there are the flat stones of the speaker, and no mouse so far has ever been able to jump that high onto those stones. And you see those drainage ravines there with a lot of scree, washed down stone from when the winter thaw goes on, all the way up to the top. Beautiful. And a nice old fountain, and you find these everywhere on these walks, and some are usually about 150 years old, but some go back to the 1700s. This one is obviously rebuilt, not such an old looking one, but there might have been one on this site since, I don't know, 300 years. And some of these little barns are so small and charming. They probably kept their prize pig in this one, and just a tiny one. Lovely. An example of one that can be rented, so you actually can come here and rent these little chalets if you're a group of 4 or more, and they have grill places and magnificent view of those mountain cliffs. Admiring this classic old speaker storage barn there with the little steps up to the top where they kept the hay to dry and down below the animals, and or at the top, my wife reminds me, you could keep a lot of dried meat and cheeses hanging up there because it's nice and dry. And you know, in the old days when they were snowed in and sealed off from a lot of Switzerland for the winter months, you needed to have a place to preserve food for a longer period, and these were old technology but brilliant technology. I really admire pragmatic thinking, which still today in Switzerland is one of their good graces, I think. These helicopters all the time over the skies of the valleys in southern Switzerland. They are taking things up to more remote mountain locations. Fastest and best way to get there. And right up there on that meadow plain, you can see part of the houses and chalets that are up there in Belle Alp, a lovely ski resort if you like to ski. And there is the station which takes up the cable car. So we have a gondola line and a cable car line here. Tells me these are mountain carnations. They look rather like scarlet pimpernels that we have in Britain, but beautiful flowers, I must say. Of course, they're always worried about fire in dry periods, so like in any place, they where there are trails and in the forest, they tell people to be careful. So now we go into the dark woods. Start a fire in the forest, and you find pine cones like this. They're very good, rich in oils, so they light usually quite easily, and especially these dry sticks as well here. But as you saw, you have to be careful if it's not a dry period. But in the spring or autumn, or certainly in the winter, these come in very handy. And sometimes I collect a whole box of these as you know, to start my fire at home. Quite practical. If you see this, you're on the right path. It means it's an official Swiss hiking path, and whatever map or app you're using, you should be able to find yourself. So anyway, with GPS these days. Close up. And those guys, I tell you, are quite pilots. They can land that thing on a square meter patch where there's no other place to land it, just like a dragonfly. I've actually been in one where the guy has landed it like that, and it's quite remarkable. It's another one of these Magnificent vertical views. Another helicopter going off there. And it's so quiet and tranquil up here. It's really wonderful. So, I'm up here really at the top. And you see that little gap of light and those little chalets down there? That's where we stay when we're here in Valleys. And I always pointed up to this top point and said one day I want to go up there. And now we're up here. So that's the road that goes all the way to Blatten, goes right through the village, the little tiny hamlet really that we stay in. And there's the mountains on the far side of the Rhone Valley and the Rhone River. Somebody was here before us. Possibly Neanderthal, maybe Cro-Magnon. No, actually just some campers or kids were up here. But basically, you make a fire here in a pile of stones, keep it away from the other dry stuff. But it's better if there's no official warnings against forest fires. But obviously someone has used this before, either to be here overnight or just to grill a sausage or something. So that sign up there says the little town of Blatten, where we started, 25 minutes. If you're old and dilapidated like me, probably took you more like 40 minutes or so, but we did take rests and lots of stops to admire the view. And we are at 1,449 meters on the blind mountain. Bergi is a little dialect way to say berg, you know, mountain.
Or a small one.
Or a small one, my wife says. If we've got an I at the end, it means it's a small one of them. So a small mountain, which I guess compared to the big brother in the background there, it is. So I've been doing a bit of gardening here. I just mowed the lawn and got my little great nieces here. My niece is here with her two little daughters, and they're just charming, you know. Yesterday we found some frogs to show them, and I had to explain to them in the evening before they went to bed what bats were, because of course in the dusk light here you see a ton of bats flying around, and they'd never seen them or noticed them before. Just before their bedtime, about 9 o'clock, and it starts to, the light gets down, the bats are headed across the top of our chalets towards the caves opposite. So it's great. You kind of remember when you were a child and you know, someone was explaining things to you. If you had a kind relative or a kind parent who would do that. Okie doke. Well, I wish you all a lovely weekend coming up. Hope you have a chance to do some nice things and not just all work. So everybody stay safe, take care of yourself, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care everyone. Cheers. Bye bye.